Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Full Sports Press. I'm Peyton,
And I am Zach.
and we have a bunch of stuff from last week to talk about, and some
Yeah.
stuff coming up this week that could be considered must-watch by us. So let's start off with our what we saw. Zach, why don't you lead us off?
So mine is a little unorthodox compared to what we usually do, which is like a play of some sort. But what I saw is a documentary coming out about Steph Curry, and the thing I love about it is it's going to be made by A24, which if you're into movies at all, they're known for like some really small, weird indie films, and then some really big indie films. One I'm sure you have probably heard of, even if you're not into movies, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. So the fact that they're making that studio is making this documentary is going to be pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just all about Steph Curry and him growing up, and then basically going from being one of the most undersized prospects ever into a four-time NBA champion. So it'll be pretty interesting. It comes out July 21st on Apple TV. And then it's only an hour and 50 minutes long, so not too big of a commitment, which is nice.
All right, cool. I'm excited to see that as well.
Yes,
All
I am
right,
too.
my what we saw is also not going to be a play, but just an entire game because it was just crazy in its entirety, and that was the pitching battle of Forest versus LSU on Thursday night. This was the elimination game to get into the final series against Florida. LSU had beaten Wake the night before, so this came down all to this game. And through 9 innings, it was 0-0. Both sides shut out. LSU, of course, had Paul Skeens pitching, which is going to be one of the top three picks next year. Wake Forest had their ace pitching, and it was just insane. They were both dominating the entire lineup. On total in the game, this is including extra innings, Wake Forest had 3 hits and LSU had 5. So
Wow.
basically, nothing was even happening. It's not like they were leaving uh, runners on base or anything like that. They were just
Mm-hmm.
dominating all around. LSU's pitcher was, I believe his first name was Rhett Lauder.
Mm.
So that was the battle. It came down to the 11th inning. In the bottom of the 11th, Tommy Tanks hits a walk-off home run to send LSU to the championship series against Florida, and they win 2-0. It was a great game to watch. Pitchers battle, kind of crazy to see, especially like I feel like college, especially you get at least a couple runs, but not in this one. It was really dominant.
Yeah. Um, at the end, wasn't it the relief pitcher's like first pitch that
I
got him
think it
out?
was like they had just brought in
Man,
somebody because the other guy got on base, and then
yeah.
and then it all went downhill from there.
Well, that happens.
All right, moving on to our reviewing our last game of the week. We
Yes.
have for you. Go ahead if you want to
Oh,
start off with your WNBA game.
yep. So, yes, my game was the Liberty versus the Mystics. It was actually yesterday at 1 o'clock, and is really a tale of four quarters, and just that idea of you play 40 minutes in the basketball game because there's 40 minutes to play, and all 40 minutes count. It really did yesterday. So Washington started up 13-0. New York just could not get it together. I think the most they were up at one point was 23-4 near the like mid to end way of the first quarter. But yeah, the Mystics absolutely dominated the first quarter. Brianna Stewart didn't even score her first field goal until the third quarter, but that ended pretty quickly because she ended up with 18 points in a quarter and a half, which is just outlandish. Ionescu had 31 points and went 7 for 12 from three. Uh, Jonquel Jones didn't score, but she got 10 rebounds, and slowly, inch by inch, this New York team just got over the hump, was able to push this Mystics team to overtime, and then through overtime, beat them by 1 point after starting the game down 13, down 23-4. Pretty crazy feat to think you're going, from one extreme all the way to the other. So good for them. It's a pretty good game. I watched the recap of it this morning just to get a refresher, and I was like, man, this was just back and forth the whole time, really.
All right, and then we had moving on. Mine was the College World Series Championship Series between LSU and Florida. Um, LSU wins game one, extra innings again for LSU. Now their pitcher Ty Floyd had 17 strikeouts in this game, so like that's just altogether 17 strikeouts is insane for a regular game, let alone the championship series. Um, so yeah, you had that going on. He had 17 strikeouts. Florida's pitcher also had a good game, kind of combined with three guys. They didn't let up a ton of runs. The final score is 4-3. But Kay Beloso in the top of the 11th hits a tank to end it. Kind of. Florida had a chance in the bottom of the inning, but couldn't get anything done. There was a play, I believe it was in the top of the 10th, where LSU's left fielder. It looked like Florida had hit a ball right over his head, but he was turning, running, and made this jumping catch that looked like for sure going over his head to kind of save the game for LSU, to get him to the 11th inning. And Kay Beloso makes that home run. They win game one. So going into Sunday, all LSU has to do is win this game, and they are College World Series championships. But Florida decides that there will be a game three. They destroy them 24-4. It was just a bloodbath.
The equivalent of that in a football game, I believe I saw today, was 128-28 or something around there. It was pretty bad.
It was already getting kind of out of hand. When they went up to about like 8-3, and then in the sixth inning, it just really just got away from them, and Florida's bats just came alive. They were unstoppable. I know going into the game, they had talked about the winds like carrying out in the outfield, so they hadn't had that all week apparently, but that was the first time, and you could really tell it because the first home run that was hit by Ty Evans, he hits it and it looks like it's super high in the air and it looks like it's going foul, but it somehow stays straight and goes out. And then the second one, they were talking about it, same guy, Ty Evans. It was like the highest angle of a fly ball that you would ever see go out. Like it was like straight up basically. And because of the wind, it just carried it out. So same guy hits like two balls that go super high, but somehow get out of the park. But yeah, Florida really comes alive, and that leads us into what I will talk about later, the game three tonight. So pretty good series so far, besides the blowout, obviously, but at least it gets us a game three tonight. All right. Also, going on from last week, I talked about the World Lacrosse Championships. It opened up with U.S. Canada. U.S. wins it. So far, they're at the end. Today is the last day of the group stage, and then they'll move into the playoffs. Israel, Italy, Japan, Ireland, and the U.S. have all won their groups, so they're guaranteed to be in the next one. And then also Canada, Haudenosaunee, Australia, England, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and Germany have also locked in their playoff spots. There are only two spots left that are trying to be decided, and there are 5 teams battling today. At this moment, France and Wales are playing. They're in the fourth quarter with a minute left. Whoever wins that game will be in the spot for the playoffs. And then Netherlands and Latvia will play later today. And same thing. Hong Kong's only chance is if they erase the goal differential between one of those two teams, but it would take a absolute blowout for Hong Kong to make it. And that will start tomorrow, the playoffs on Tuesday. And it'll go through the rest of the week. And we'll get the quarterfinals on Wednesday, all the way to the championship game on Sunday. So only day that will not have games is Friday. Other than that, there will be playoff games each day this week for the World Lacrosse Championship. It'll be exciting to see who can pull it out. Honestly, U.S. is obviously the heavy favorite. They went undefeated in group play, but Japan is really interesting. They crushed every single team they played. Didn't have too much competition, but they crushed every single team they played. Canada, always good. And the Haudenosaunee really look good. They only lost to Canada and the U.S. by 1 goal. So, yeah, it could be anyone's game, but I'm leaning towards U.S. this week. All right.
Nice.
Also, shout out the Ugandan lacrosse team. They scored their first goal, I believe, I think it was either Friday or Saturday. They had some cool celebrations, and I think it was kind of their first time getting into lacrosse and all that. So it was cool to see a new country kind of getting into it for sure. Oh, and Wales ties it up 6-6. I'll give you a live
Oh.
update whenever we have that team. All right, MLB. Only thing I wanted to talk about was the Reds and the Braves series on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Reds coming into it, I believe, had won 11 games straight, and the Braves were on like an 8-game winning streak, I want to say. First game, the Reds win 11-10. That one was going back and forth the entire game. Ellie De La Cruz, the rookie shortstop for the Reds, hit for the cycle. You know what that means, Zach?
I think I do, but I
So he hit a single, a
exactly.
double, a triple, and a home run
Okay,
in the game.
that's what I
So
thought.
he
Yeah.
did everything he could. They went 11-10, and then the next two games, the Braves won 7-6 in both of them. And there was just like a ton of home runs. It was just an insane every game back and forth. Fun to watch. Matt Olson, I believe, had 4 home runs in the series. It was a lot of fun. A good series for regular season, I felt like. And the Reds looking like a serious team, maybe to make the playoffs and make a run. We'll see. All right, moving on to soccer. Gold Cup has begun. The Gold Cup is a CONCACAF competition. Now, what is its relevance compared to the Nations League? There's a big debate about that. Who knows what really matters more in the international? But it is a competition. Obviously, you want to win. Now, sadly, the U.S. Has sent their, I would say, C team. So it's not all the starters, not any of the starters besides Matt Turner, the goalkeeper, a bunch of MLS guys. The reasoning for that is because the European teams are kind of getting into their preseason now, and because so many of the U.S. guys are kind of in a place where either they may be transferring or they really need to have a good preseason at their team. I would say that's the reason most of the starters aren't there. But anyway, they played Jamaica in the first match on Saturday, or tied 1-1. They drew it late. They were losing 1-0. Kind of did not play good all match, but were able to salvage a point at the end. They play this week. They play St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday, and then I believe on Sunday they play Trinidad and Tobago. So they should definitely beat these teams. But they do have the C team, so hopefully they can still beat these teams, move on to the knockout rounds. But that may be it. I don't know how this team will do with when they get to Mexico, who has a pretty good team fielded,
Mm-hmm.
or even Jamaica again. So we'll just have to see on if they can actually pull out this one like they did the Nations League. But that is something to watch. 2 U.S. men's team games this week.
All righty. Well, moving on to WNBA. I'm only going to talk about one game this week and then highlight one player who's been doing good, and then talk about all-star stuff because all-star voting is closed now, and we know who the starters are going to be. So, number one, the game. So on Tuesday, the Sun and the Storm played. Jewel Lloyd has been absolutely going off. She had the 41 piece, I think, last weekend, and then just going into this week, she's been so good. This game again, she had 33, and then rookie Jordan Horston on the Storm had, I believe, her first double double with 11 points and 13 rebounds. But sadly, that was not enough for Alyssa Thomas's triple double that she had in 3 quarters. So Alyssa Thomas just absolutely just ran over the Storm that game, willed the Sun to a victory, 85-79. And then also yesterday, Alyssa Thomas, I believe, got her 4th career double-double, which I think that set the new career, like the league record now for most triple-doubles. Double-doubles are a pretty common thing in the WNBA, but you don't see too many triple-doubles. And on top of that, it's also like a newer league. It came here in the late 90s, so there just hasn't been as much time as like the NBA, where who knows how many there have been, thousands, millions even. And then the player I wanted to highlight, sorry for anybody who doesn't like how much we talk about the Gamecocks, but you're going to get it again. Destiny Henderson. She, at the beginning of the season, was cut from the Fever, and she took, I think, like the first 3 or 4 weeks and wasn't with the team. But then the Sparks finally signed her, and her first 2 games with the Sparks were pretty slow. She didn't get too many minutes, I think like maybe 4 and 5. But then her next 2 games over the span of this week, she has been pretty efficient and pretty on fire. So in her last 2 games she's played, she's gotten 26 minutes and 17 minutes. In all that, she scored 27 points on 50% field goal shooting. Got 3 rebounds, 4 assists, which she is a score first point guard, so those numbers make sense. I really want to look at the shooting here. The 27 points on 50% field goal shooting, that's pretty good, especially for somebody who is coming off the bench and somehow getting almost 20 minutes a game in those last 2. And she's also got 2 steals and then only 3 fouls, so she's playing smart. She's trying to earn that roster spot on the Sparks. In the WNBA roster spots, there's only 144 of them, so they're hard to come by. So when you get a chance, you really want to show off. All right, now getting on to the All-Star starters. They were announced yesterday, and there's some good ones. So first up, we got Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd. Let me look here. Yeah, Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Arike Agumbawale, Chelsea Gray, and Kelsey Plum. And then for the forwards of the front court, we've got Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Brittany Griner, Satu Sabally, and Aaliyah Boston. So the rookie does it, becomes an all-star starter in her first season. Absolutely outrageous. She ended up with a front court player rank. So the WNBA all-star voting, it's 50% fan vote, 25% media rank, and then 25% player rank. The players ranked her as the 6th best front court player in the league, and she is a rookie. So that is just absolutely awesome to see from Aaliyah Boston. And then talking about Aaliyah Boston, there are some people who have kind of questioned her legitimacy as an all-star starter this quick. And I just wanted to read this tweet out real quick. As an all-star starter, she has the 3rd best player efficiency rating in the league at 29.3 and the highest field goal percentage at 65% in the entire league on 9+ attempts per game. So she's not only absolutely running things for the Fever, but she's high up there in the league for a rookie. So yeah, Aaliyah Boston is making things look good for the Fever, leading rookies all the way. And then, man, All-Star weekend's coming up here in a couple weeks, so it'll be fun to watch. All righty, moving on to the NBA.
All right, so first thing I believe is the Porzingis trade, round 2. The first one was reported as being going to happen. It ended up someone, I don't know who pulled out of the first one, but someone pulled out, and then the new 3-team deal happens. Porzingis goes to the Celtics. Marcus Smart goes to the Grizzlies.
Yes.
And then
I'll put that on here.
Wizards get Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, and Mike Muscala, and a pick. I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest. I think honestly most of the Celtics fans and kind of media reaction seems to be like Marcus Smart was just such a valuable piece to that team. Is Porzingis going to be able to put them over the edge? Is he the guy to put them over the edge and get them a finals win? What do you think?
I don't think so.
I agree.
I don't think it was Marcus Smart either. I think there was more issues on that team than that. But no, I don't. I think that they had their shot against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had their shot then, and they couldn't get it done. So,
I agree. I don't think Porzingis is the guy that makes them a team that wins the finals. Yeah, so I personally don't think this is a great trade. We'll see how Marcus Smart and Ja Morant jive in Memphis. We'll see. I don't know what to think of that one.
Hey, the good thing for Memphis though is they're probably going to lose Dylan Brooks, so you're not going to have that defense anymore, but you are going to gain some with Marcus Smart, especially if he's starting at like the 2 or something. But also you got 25 games without Ja too.
So. Yeah. Man, I honestly maybe Marcus Smart is good for Ja, a little leadership, veteran leadership in the locker room. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Then I think the next one is the most shocking. I would never have called this. So Chris Paul, we know, got sent to the Wizards originally for Bradley Beal, part of the Bradley Beal trade, right? Isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so now Chris Paul gets sent to the Warriors for Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, a first and a second rounder. And these are like way in the
Way in the
future.
future. Yeah.
Way in the future. So I gotta be, I don't know how to feel about this on either side. I guess the Wizards make a good play here. I mean, they get another first rounder in the future. They get Jordan Poole, but huge contract, and get rid
Yeah.
of Chris Paul, who's old. And I guess,
And
is
he
this the
also has a
Warriors?
big contract too.
He
I believe he
does.
does. Yeah.
And so I guess, is this the Warriors like kind of last gasp, trying to put something together with the group that they have, get one more superstar,
I
but
don't know
aged
because,
superstar.
but the thing is, you also have Draymond who is unrestricted, and what are we going to do with him? Because I think the
Yeah,
thought has been they're going to keep one and either trade or let the other one walk. So now you've got both of them possibly gone, which maybe that's what they want. Maybe they just want to blow it up. Who knows?
I'm thinking, if I had to guess, I would say they're done with Draymond. Personally, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's time. Like it was good when you were winning, but like once he continues his antics, it kind of gets tired. Um, and I don't know how much this has to do with him signing there. I just know Draymond has been hanging out with LeBron a lot. He loves LeBron. Does he end up at the Lakers?
that
That would
would
be
be
interesting.
that would be something else.
Yeah, I don't honestly don't know what to expect out of free agency with him. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
he'll get a big deal, but you never
No.
know with like teams trying to just get anyone they can.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see where he goes. I
Yeah.
highly doubt he's staying in Golden State.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But that's all on the trade front, and then we had the draft Thursday night, right?
Right.
So it was the most watched draft ever, if you didn't know that. 4.93 million averaged, and then it peaked with 6.09. So that's pretty. Honestly, I I knew there was a lot of hype on Wemby, but I didn't think this would be the most watched draft ever because I figured it was Wemby one, and then who really cares? Because
Yeah.
nobody really cares anyway. Yeah, Wemby went one to San Antonio. Um, Charlotte picked Brandon Miller. Thoughts?
So, I will say the Hornets fan base, everyone pretty much that I've read hates it. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted Scoot. I think for me, Brandon Miller kind of just left a bad taste in my mouth from his college days. The way he went out with Alabama, all the controversy around him, all that kind of just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. His pre-talk, once he said that Paul George is his GOAT, that made me question him a lot. Um, and I don't know. Well, I have to go all in on him now. So let's hope he's the guy to kind of lead us to something, playoffs at least. But I
Did you not
understand.
see where he also said that the Hornets would be in the finals next year? Let's not
I
leave
think
that
that's,
out. Let's not
yeah.
leave
I
that
think
part
that's
out.
just, he's got to say, like, he can't say we'll be a mid team next year. Maybe we'll make the playoffs. He can't say that,
Mm.
but I mean, maybe he got a little over the top with the finals prediction. Uh, but yeah, I understand not getting Scoots just because we do have LaMelo. How will that work? And we honestly needed a forward with what we got. So it'll just be a wait and see. I don't feel great about it, but I'm not gonna say it's horrible yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then after that, yeah, Scoot went third to Portland. So him and Dame, I guess.
Well, let me just say, I read reports that like Damien's team and him were mad that
Yeah,
they
I mean
used the
probably.
pick. Um, I don't see whatever's going on there with Damien. I don't see it ending well. I don't
I
know. At this point, just part ways. Like I
I don't think it's gonna happen because he's been mad for years, but he continues to stay. So I think he's just gonna stay there until they break up with him.
yeah. I mean that's
I mean
it's
that's just
just
how.
right at my door.
That's like the only thing that's made me laugh today. So that's
All
pretty funny.
right. We're just gonna leave that in. We're gonna keep
I
it
don't
rolling.
care. That's funny.
All right. So,
Oh man.
anyways, yeah.
But yeah, Scoot went to Portland, and then he was followed by the Thompson twins. I don't remember where they went. Anthony Black, was after him. And then the Wizards and Pacers did a pick swap. So the Wizards drafted Bilal Coulibaly.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. And then the Pacers drafted Jarris Walker. Now, if you look up pictures of these players, they're each going to be wearing the wrong hat. But don't worry, the teams I said are correct. Any thoughts on the top 8?
I would say,
Besides,
like, for example, I don't know anything about most of these guys because they didn't play in college. They played at wherever they played overtime, G League, whatever it was. They weren't in college. Now, Anthony Black, I will say, when I first saw him at Arkansas, I saw like something like this coming, him going top 10. But as the season progressed, he kind of, I feel like, lost his momentum. Didn't look as good at the end of the season as he did at the beginning. And I guess that's just how it goes with the NBA draft. You're going off potential. And yeah, he does have the potential to be a triple double kind of point guard, honestly, with the way he plays. So if he turns out to be like that, then yeah, it's a good pick. But I also feel like there is definitely some kind of scary downside where he wasn't that great at Arkansas.
yeah, I don't know. For the Pacers, I guess I'm excited for Jarris Walker. I know he's more of a defensive guy, but hopefully he'll be a plug and play guy, and we can just get on the floor and have a decent season and no injuries. That's the big one.
Speaking of the Hornets, their pick of Nick Smith,
Oh yeah.
that I thought was a steal. I was surprised he lasted that long, considering he was hurt at the beginning of the season, but coming into the season, I believe he was projected lottery as well. Like he was pretty hyped up at Arkansas, and he played pretty good in the tournament. So I'm excited to see him. I know he'll be back up to LaMelo, I assume, hopefully.
Yeah.
With Steve Clifford, he probably won't play next season at all, knowing him. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun to watch. But yeah, I think it could has the potential to be a good backup point guard for the Hornets.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and then our last NBA news is literally about an hour ago. John Collins got traded. So the Hawks are sending John Collins to the Jazz for Rudy Gay and a future second round pick. This is also comes hand in hand with rumors from Woj saying that Atlanta is not done making moves, and then they could climb into the luxury tax this offseason. So I don't know.
I don't know what to think about
I'm
that.
not really. Yeah. Doesn't
I'm not
seem like
sure,
it's.
honestly, that it doesn't seem like it changes too much on either team, even though John
No.
Collins was a big part of the Hawks. Like, I don't know. I just don't. It's not a big move for me personally.
No, I don't think so either.
All right, moving in to our games of the week. Why don't you go ahead and start us off, Zach?
Yes. So mine is the Sun at the Aces. I think I've had this game on here recently, but it was just reverse. The Aces were at the Sun, but now the Sun are traveling over to Las Vegas and taking them on Saturday at 3:00 on ABC. Should be a good game. I mean, you're going to get to see the best team in the league versus the second best team in the league. Offensive powerhouse versus a defensive powerhouse. So it's going to be pretty good. I do have an honorable mention. This would have been my game of the week, but for some reason, NBA TV decided to put the Fever at Mercury on national television instead of Liberty at the Aces. So as much as I love the Fever, I don't understand how that happened. But if you would like to watch a game Thursday night at 10:00 on Silver State Sports and Entertainment, or yes, you can watch Liberty at the Aces. What is your game of the week?
My game of the week is tonight. Hopefully, this uploads fast enough so you guys can see this beforehand. Probably not, but I have an honorable mention just in case. College World Series Championship Game 3 tonight at 7 on ESPN. Reports coming out saying Thatcher Hurd for LSU will be the starter, and Jack Caglione for Florida will be the starter. Also, the nation's leader in home runs, Jack Caglione hit 2 yesterday. He will be the starting pitcher tonight for the Gators. Now, that brings up the question, will we see Paul Skeens at all? He obviously pitched on Thursday, hasn't got the pitch in the championship series. Is it enough time for him to come out of the bullpen, hopefully? I think if you're LSU, that's what you want to plan on because he is your number one guy and the best pitcher in the nation. So that'll be something to watch. Who will bring home the title? Honorable mention for me would be the World Lacrosse Championship. The gold medal game will be Saturday, 7 p.m. ESPN2. Hopefully, we'll be seeing the U.S. against, who knows, we'll have to see. All right. I think that about wraps us up. And in case you were wondering, France and Wales are still tied 6-6, and they are going into a third overtime. So I cannot tell you who won that game, but you'll have to look yourself.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you next time
We will.
on Full Sport Press.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.